Today, we're diving into what's basically a masterclass in community planning. We're going to break down one neighborhood's super detailed 25-year strategic plan to see how any community, and I mean any, can build a thriving, stable future just by thinking a few decades ahead. You know the feeling. It's that letter that shows up in the mail that everyone absolutely dreads. A special assessment, they call it. Maybe $10,000 because a retaining wall suddenly collapsed. It's that moment of pure financial panic that happens way too often. But what if? What if it never had to happen in the first place? This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? You've got two roads your community can go down. On one side, you've got reactive management. It's just constant firefighting mode, surprise fees, quick and dirty patchwork fixes. But on the other side, that's the goal, proactive planning. And that leads to stability, predictable costs, and most importantly, protected property values. The difference is all about having a blueprint. So, the big question, why 25 years? I mean, that sounds like an incredibly long time. Well, the whole point is to shift the entire community's mindset from just fixing whatever happens to be broken today to actively building a much more secure future for everyone. Just think about it for a second. HOA boards, they change out every few years, right? So without a long-term plan, every new board is basically starting from scratch, and they often have totally different priorities. This 25-year roadmap, it ensures consistency. It means the smart choices we make today will keep guiding the community for decades, protecting it from chaos and making sure progress is steady. Okay, so before you can even draw up a roadmap, you've got to know your destination. This is the absolute foundation of the whole plan, defining a super clear vision and mission. You just can't build a future if nobody agrees on what it's supposed to look like. And here we've got the two key parts. The vision, that's the dream. It's the big aspirational goal, like becoming a model community that everyone looks up to. The mission, though, that's the job. It's the practical day-to-day stuff, like smart financial management, that actually makes the dream possible. Okay, so you have your destination. How do you actually get there? Well, you take that big vision and you translate it into a real, tangible action plan. And you do that by breaking it all down into a few key focus areas that really cover every single aspect of the community. The first pillar is always the bones of the neighborhood, the infrastructure. We're talking about the roads you drive on every day, the sidewalks you walk on, the lights that keep everything safe at night. These are seriously high-cost items that you absolutely, positively have to plan for.
Next up is landscaping. And this is way more than just mowing the lawn. This covers the community's whole look and feel. It's environmental health, managing all the trees, and controlling stuff like erosion, all of which directly impacts your property values and your quality of life.
And the third pillar covers the major shared assets. These are the real big-ticket items, things like security gates, perimeter fences, and those critical retaining walls. They all have a limited lifespan, and they cost a fortune to replace if you're not ready for it. This is the key question, isn't it? You've got all these different areas, but what needs to get fixed first? Well, a good plan isn't based on guesswork, not at all. It's grounded in hard data and real-world needs. You do this through what's called a systematic needs assessment. It's a whole process. You survey the residents to see what they care about, you bring in professionals to do inspections, and then you analyze all of that data to figure out what's most urgent. And safety issues, they always come first. And here is exactly why that data is so critical. A professional assessment can tell you something like, hey, your roads are going to need a full replacement in the 2040s and it's going to cost over $150,000. An expense like that would be a total financial disaster if you didn't have decades of planning. It makes the need for a long-term plan incredibly real. So this brings us to the most important question for any homeowner, right? How in the world do you pay for all of this without those awful financial shocks? The answer is all about smart, long-term financial strategy. See, a 25-year plan isn't something you tackle all at once. It's broken down into these manageable phases. The timeline here starts with the most urgent fixes, like failing retaining walls. Then it moves on to major renewals, like the gate system, and eventually builds up to those huge projects, like a full road resurfacing. It's all done in a logical, affordable sequence. And the tool that makes all of this possible is the Reserve Fund. It's basically a dedicated long-term savings account for the community. A small piece of everyone's monthly fees goes into this fund, and it is earmarked only for the future repair and replacement of those big shared assets we were talking about.
This is the antidote to those surprise special assessments.
This chart visualizes the financial goal perfectly. A community tracks its health by what percentage of its future costs are already funded. Being down in the danger zone below 30%, that means a super high risk for surprise fees. The goal is to stay consistently healthy, up above that 70% target, so the money is always there, right when you need it.
But here's something that is absolutely critical. A 25-year plan cannot be carved in stone. I mean, the world changes, right? Costs change, priorities in the community can change. So the plan itself has to be this living, breathing document that gets reviewed and adjusted over time.
And you manage this through a continuous improvement loop. You're constantly reviewing progress against your goals, you keep gathering feedback from residents, you make formal adjustments to the plan, say every 5 years, and, this is the most important part, you communicate everything transparently. That's how you maintain trust. So, how do you measure progress? You do it with clear key performance indicators, or KPIs. Instead of just guessing if things are getting better, you track hard numbers. Is the pavement rating above an 80? Is the reserve fund over 70% funded? Is resident satisfaction above a 4 out of 5? This is what ensures accountability. And at the end of the day, none of this works without the residents. This quote really gets to the heart of it. A plan can't just be dictated from the top down. When people feel like they're actually heard and they see their feedback making a difference, they become partners in the process, not enemies. That buy-in is the secret ingredient. So after all that work, what's the big payoff? Well, it's huge. No more financial surprises hitting you out of the blue. You get higher property values that are protected for the long haul. You get a community that is physically safer and more beautiful to live in. And maybe most importantly, you get a stronger, more tight-knit community where people feel really confident about their shared future. And this brings us to the final thought, really. We used one community's plan as a model here, but these principles, they're universal. So it leaves us with a question to think about. What is the 25-year blueprint for your community? And hey, if there isn't one, maybe it's time to start that conversation.